Kamsi signed a marriage certificate at 8 a.m. to a man worth billions, and by the next morning she was already divorced. But that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of the most dangerous 24 hours of her life. Her name is Kamsi Nwachukwu, and until last month she was just a 27-year-old fashion designer from Aja, struggling to keep her small boutique afloat. She didn't believe in fairy tales. Lagos had taught her otherwise. But that day started like magic. She had just closed shop early to attend a charity gala hosted at Eco Hotel. Her friend Amaka forced her to go. She said billionaires would be there, and her designs deserved to be seen. She wore one of her own creations, a sleek, velvet green dress with gold embroidery. And that's where she met Chief Darian Onwoha. He didn't walk in like a man. He floated, like someone the earth itself made space for. Tall, clean, calm. The kind of man that didn't need to shout. His silence was expensive. Within minutes, he walked over to her, introduced himself, and asked one question that changed everything. "Would you marry me? Tomorrow?" Kamsi laughed, thinking he was joking. But he wasn't smiling. "You don't have to love me," he said. "Just sign the papers. Be my wife for 24 hours, and I'll give you N100 million. No questions asked." She blinked. "N100 million? For just one day?" He nodded. "I'm not a prostitute," she snapped. He calmly replied, "And I'm not asking you to be one. I just need a wife. For 24 hours. My reasons are private." Kamsi went home confused, but before dawn, curiosity and desperation won. Her mother needed surgery. Her siblings' school fees were piling up. At 8 a.m. the next day, she signed a marriage certificate at the Ikoyi registry. By 9 a.m., she was in his private yacht at Banana Island, wearing a simple white dress, smiling for pictures with his lawyer and one witness. No friends, no family, just silence and elegance. By midnight, they signed the annulment papers. Done. At least, that's what she thought. At 1 a.m., she returned to the luxury guest room he gave her to rest before leaving, but she couldn't sleep. Something was off. She heard voices down the hallway, soft, urgent whispers behind a locked door. She tiptoed closer and leaned against the wall. "We need the document before 6 a.m., one voice said. "She can't know she signed it." What document? She'd only signed the marriage certificate. Or had she? Kamsi ran to her purse and pulled out the signed paper she'd been handed. That's when she saw it. 2 pages instead of 1. The second wasn't a marriage certificate. It was a shareholder's transfer document, with her signature, making her the legal next of kin to Darian's multi-billion Naira company. Her name was now tied to his empire. Why? Kamsi panicked. She tried to call Amaka. Her phone was off. She left the room barefoot and ran to the gate. Security blocked her. "Ogas say make nobody come out," one said. "You're his wife." "I'm not his wife anymore." "Until daylight, madam. He say you must not go anywhere." That's when she realized she wasn't being protected. She was being watched. She returned to the room and found a note under the pillow. "Don't trust anyone. Not even the police. Burn the second page immediately. Darian." What was going on? Then came the gunshot. One loud bang echoed through the hallway. Then another. She hid inside the wardrobe, shaking, her hand covering her mouth. Men in black suits stormed into the corridor. "She's here, check every room." They weren't looking for Darian. They were looking for her. She crept out through a back balcony, climbed down using the drainage pipe, and limped barefoot onto the road. A black Jeep suddenly pulled over in front of her. She froze. The window rolled down, and Darian was inside, alive. "Get in," he said. She hesitated, but what choice did she have? They sped off. "I'm sorry," he said, his eyes fixed on the road. "I didn't want to involve you, but I needed someone who didn't have ties to the business world, someone who could sign without questions." Kamsi didn't speak. He continued, "There's a boardroom coup. My cousin and a few foreign investors want to kill me and seize my company. Legally, if I die without a next of kin, my company goes to them. But if I have a wife, even for one day, my shares transfer to her before anyone else. But why not someone else? Because anyone else would betray me. You didn't even want the money at first. I could trust your heart. She swallowed hard. So, what now? He looked at her. Now we disappear for a few hours, until the board meeting ends. After that, we're safe. He took her to an old church in Makoko. They hid there till sunrise. The smell of dust and wood filled the air. He kept checking his watch, counting down every second. At 6:02 a.m., he made a call. "It's done?" he asked. Then a sigh of relief. He turned to Kamsi. "We're safe." Kamsi felt like crying. She had never been that scared in her life. He handed her a briefcase. "This is your N100 million. I'll handle the annulment myself. I'm leaving the country tonight. You'll never hear from me again." He smiled, genuinely, for the first time. "Thank you for saving my life." Then he was gone. Just like that. Kamsi returned to her life, with more money than she ever dreamed of. She moved her family to a better place, opened a fashion school, donated to charities. Life was good. Until one afternoon, 6 months later, a letter arrived. No return address, no stamp. Inside was a picture, she, walking out of the abandoned church, with Darian. Under it, one sentence. "We know what you did. See you soon, Madam CEO." Kamsi's hands trembled. She looked around. The world suddenly didn't feel safe again. Was Darian truly gone? Or had she become a pawn in something much, much bigger? 6 months had passed since Kamsi's 24-hour marriage to Darian Onuoha. She had rebuilt her life in quiet luxury, but nothing about her life was quiet anymore. She had moved to Lekki Phase 1, opened a fashion academy, and traveled to Ghana and Kenya for business, all funded from the N100 million Darian gave her. Life should have been perfect, until the strange alert came. N45 million deposited. Reference, Darian alive. She stared at her phone, frozen. Her heart skipped. She hadn't heard from him. She thought he was gone for good. Was this some kind of signal? Or a warning? That same night, 2 men knocked on her door. They wore black suits, claimed to be from a security agency. "Miss Kamsi Nwachukwu, we need you to come with us. Just a few questions about Chief Onuoha's assets." She shut the door immediately and called her lawyer. That's when she realized she was being watched again. She pulled down the curtains, switched off her phone, turned off the lights. She didn't sleep that night. Next morning, she visited her bank to ask who made the deposit. The banker pulled up the record and went pale. "Madam, this account, it's flagged. It was sealed 6 months ago. It belongs to the late Darian Onuoha." "Late?" she asked. He nodded. "Chief Onuoha was declared legally dead 5 months ago. But she saw him alive just a month before the legal death date." What was going on? When Kamsi got home, she found her boutique door broken. She rushed inside, heart pounding. Nothing was stolen. Except one thing, a red envelope Darian once gave her, with no explanation. She had hidden it in her sewing machine. Luckily, she had already removed what was inside months ago, a tiny USB drive with no label. Out of fear, she had never opened it. Now she had to. Kamsi plugged it into her old laptop and found a video file and several encrypted folders. The video played. Darian appeared on screen, pale and visibly weak. "If you're watching this, Kamsi, then I'm either dead or worse. Inside this drive are files proving financial crimes by board members of Onuoha Group. I gave you power without your knowledge. Now you must choose, run or fight." 3 days later, Kamsi got a handwritten invitation. "Join us for dinner, 8 p.m. sharp. Your safety depends on it." Signed, the board against her better judgment, she went, but not alone. She carried the USB drive and wore a hidden mic linked to her lawyer. The dinner was in a glass mansion in Victoria Island. She was welcomed by Madame Ireti Onuoha, Darian's aunt, and now the acting CEO. "You've done well for yourself," she said, sipping wine, "but all that can change in one night." She slid a file across the table. "Sign this. You'll forfeit any rights you have to Onuoha Group, and we'll forget you ever existed." Kamsi looked her in the eye. "And if I don't?" She smiled, cold and slow. "Then I'll make sure you don't exist." Kamsi left the dinner without signing. That night she received an anonymous email. "Upload the files now, before they find you. Your time is running out." Kamsi made a decision. Instead of running, she uploaded the entire folder onto 3 secured cloud drives and shared one link with an online financial crime blog anonymously. The story hit the internet like a grenade. Onuoha Group in scandal, leaked files reveal multi-billion naira laundering network. Names, accounts, shell companies, everything was there, and they traced the leaks, not to her, but to an internal IP inside Onuoha Group. Kamsi had reversed the game. But the victory didn't last long. 3 nights later, Darian's body was found, for real this time, floating near Tarkwa Bay Beach. His fingerprints matched. His watch was found on his wrist, his signature scar on his shoulder. It was him, dead. And then, it got worse. The police called Kamsi in for questioning. "Miss Kamsi," the officer said, "there's a problem. You're still legally married to the deceased. The annulment was never finalized." Kamsi's jaw dropped. "What?" Darian never filed the annulment. She had been his wife all along. That meant one thing. She was now the legal heir to his entire estate, his companies, his debts, his enemies, his secrets. The news spread quickly. Billionaire's secret wife emerges. Paparazzi camped outside Kamsi's house. Her fashion academy lost students. Her bank accounts were frozen. Her was named in investigations she knew nothing about. And the worst part? A voice message came to her phone from an unknown number. "You think this is over? You think exposing us protects you? You have 7 days, or you'll join your husband in the sea." Kamsi couldn't breathe. She didn't sleep. She didn't know who to trust, not even Amaka, who hadn't spoken to her since the scandal. And then, a private number called her, a voice she never thought she'd hear again. "Kamsi, it's me, Darian." Kamsi dropped her phone. When she picked it again, the call had ended. 5 minutes later, a text came in. "Alive, but not safe. We need to meet. 3rd Mainland Bridge, 3 a.m. She didn't believe it, but she went. She wore a hoodie, carried pepper spray, and took a cab to the spot. And there he was, Darian, alive, thin, pale, but breathing. "They killed my double," he said. "The body they found wasn't mine. I faked everything to finish them from the shadows. But they moved faster." Kamsi stared at him. "Why are you telling me now?" He looked down. "Because you're the only one left I can trust. You have what I need, control of my estate. Help me finish this, and I swear, we'll both disappear. Forever." Kamsi and Darian planned their move in silence. With her signature, Kamsi transferred 51% of the board's assets to a shell company Darian created before his death. They had legal control now. Then they sent out the final blow, evidence to EFCC, DSS, and the international press. The authorities moved in fast. 3 board members were arrested. Madame Ireti fled the country, but not before leaving Kamsi one final message, written in lipstick across her mirror. "Dead men can't stay hidden forever." It had been 4 months since the takedown of Onuoha Group's corrupt board. Darian was hiding somewhere in Switzerland. Kamsi lived quietly in Accra under a new name, Zina Mba. Her boutique was thriving again. But just when she thought it was over, she came home one evening to find a small wooden box on her doorstep. No label, no sender. She opened it slowly and dropped it immediately. Inside was a porcelain doll dressed in a miniature wedding gown. Its face was slashed and smeared with red paint, or blood. Tied around its neck was a black ribbon, written on it in shaky ink, "Even Switzerland has borders, and dead wives still bleed." Kamsi locked herself inside for days. She stopped going out, canceled all appointments, changed her number. She knew who it was, Madame Ireti. No one had seen her since she fled Lagos. Some said she was in South Africa. Others claimed she was killed by her own people, but she was alive, and she wanted revenge. She called Darian through our encrypted line. "She found me," Kamsi whispered. He paused. "Then it's time to finish this. One last move. One final nail." "What's the plan?" "I have a witness, one of her ex-partners, but we must smoke her out. Only one thing will make her show her face again." Kamsi already knew the answer. "You." Kamsi returned to Nigeria under a different passport and with new identity papers. The plan was simple: stage a press conference, reveal she was never legally divorced from Darian, and publicly declare intent to fully manage his empire. It was bait, and they knew Ireti couldn't resist it. Within 24 hours, a message arrived. "You want the throne? Come and take it. One-on-one. Ireti. Location: an abandoned sugar factory on the outskirts of Lekki." Darian begged Kamsi not to go, but she had to end it. Kamsi arrived at the factory alone, wearing a tracker disguised as a necklace. 2 security agents waited nearby in a van, monitoring every second. Inside, the factory was dark, reeking of rust and dust. Ireti stood there, dressed in white, like a widow from a horror film. "You took everything from me," she said. Kamsi stood her ground. "You tried to kill me, framed me, hunted me. You lost." She laughed. "No, dear. You lost. You lost the one thing Darian never gave anyone: truth." She snapped her fingers. A door behind her opened, and 2 men dragged someone in. Darian. Bloody. Weak. Barely conscious. Kamsi screamed, "No! Your darling husband never left Nigeria," she said. "He's been mine this whole time." Kamsi stared at him. "Is this true?" He lifted his head slowly. "Kamsi, I'm sorry." In that moment, everything fell apart. The annulment, the money, the threats, the body, the faked death, the love. Darian had never gone to Switzerland. He never protected her. He had been working with Ireti all along. "She was never supposed to live," Ireti hissed. "You signed your life away, but he fell for you and ruined our plans." Kamsi's world spun. She looked at Darian, his face full of shame. "You married me to kill me?" Kamsi asked. He nodded slowly. "But then I couldn't. You reminded me of who I was before all this." Kamsi screamed, cried, shook with rage. She had been a pawn. Twice. Kamsi knew one thing: she wasn't going to die like this. While they argued, she activated the panic button on her necklace. Security agents stormed the building seconds later. Bullets flew. Kamsi ducked behind old machinery as chaos erupted. Smoke, screams, flames. Someone screamed Darian's name. Kamsi saw Ireti fall, a bullet through her shoulder. She crawled toward Kamsi, coughing blood. "You think this ends here?" she choked. "The real monster is not me." And then she collapsed. Darian tried to run. Kamsi stood in front of him, gun in her hand, shaking. "You used me, betrayed me, loved me?" He nodded. "Then prove it." "By doing what?" he asked. "By walking away and never coming back." He lowered his head, then walked straight into the fire. Kamsi don't know if he made it out alive. Part of her hopes he didn't. Part of her hopes he did. Weeks later, the government seized what remained of Onuoha Group. Kamsi returned to Ghana for good. One evening, she received a letter with no address. Inside it was a photograph of a beach sunset and a note. "I'm alive. I'm sorry. And I still love you. D." Kamsi burned the note that night. But she kept the photograph, not because she forgave him, but because she wanted to remember the price of being the bride of a billionaire for 24 hours. She married a billionaire for one day, and it cost her her identity, her safety, and her sanity. She thought it was just about the money, but it became a war she won, but barely survived.